Guys, welcome to OK Junk, my YouTube channel, which will be focusing on deck profiles for Cardfight, Vanguard, and sometimes Magic and Buddy Fight. To start the channel, we're going to start with Cardfight Vanguard standard format and the deck profile for Genesis. So to start with, you start with aiming for the stars Artemis. It's the when rolled upon draw a card. Every clan has one. It's the standard starter now for standard in the Vanguard game. So you start with that. Then I'll go on to the trigger lineup. So it's quite a simple one. It's 4 heal, 4 draw PG, and then 8 crit. Going 8 crit over any additional draw. You'll see in a moment when I get to my grade 3 lineup. I just like the aggro that it provides. The draws are good, but they also don't offer as much shield value. Trigger lineup's quite simple there. Now onto the grade 3s. Not the Himiko deck, so we're going Artemis, 4 battle dated the Knight Artemis. Is a mini ultimate if you played in G or if you play in Premium. All your cards gain the trigger effects given to this unit if they have a Divine Gauge, which is a mechanic of when they hit or when they boost, or if in this case rearguard when placed, take a card from soul, put it face down under this unit. So all units gain the trigger effect and they gain 5k and can't be chosen, so it's really good in matchups against like Shadow Paladins and things that want to retire a lot. It's quite an underplayed deck, but because of the getting all the triggers, the crits come in really useful, especially when you start stacking on some of the rear guards. There's a really quite interesting little combination that people don't always realise with this and the grade 1, which I will explain a little bit later. So on to the next grade 3s. So there's 4 Artemis. Then we go into 4 Goddess of the Milky Way Pleon, which is Vanguard, Rearguard, when placed. It doesn't have the force marker, but when placed, check top 3, put 1 into your soul, and put top 2 cards on top of your deck in any order. So it's really useful for calling as a Rearguard and stacking some triggers for your Vanguard's primary skill there. Run it as a 4-off because you definitely want to be seeing this. It just helps filter your deck into your soul to keep the Divine Gauge coming, because at the moment there's no way to recover it or get them back to hand when the card with the gauge dies, for example. So you just want to be filtering your deck with this. Then last grade 3s, just running 2 Eternal Goddess Iguana Hime. It's got the force marker is the primary reason, and then it draws a card and again gives soul, and can get quite big if you've got no other units with the Divine Gauge. You just put a crit on this, it'll be quite a big number. So if you put in a crit trigger into your soul off this, it'll gain 2 times 15 because the shield value of the crit is 15, so it'll be 43,000 power unit by itself before force markers and extra triggers and things are taken into account. So just 2 of this. It's a nice little backup grade 3. You don't want to be seeing it too often, and you definitely don't want to be riding it if you can avoid it. But it's useful. Then onto the grade 2s. So 4 of the grade 2 Twilight Hunter Artemis. It's part of the original ride chain back from G, just retrained. Skill is when it hits, choose a card from your soul, put it as a Divine Gauge on this unit, and then continuous. This unit gets 10,000 power for each of this unit's divine gauge. So if it hits once, you can hit a rearguard if you want. It'll become a 20k, and then on a force marker be a 30k, and then with Artemis as your Vanguard, it'll be a 35k. It's really good even just with one divine gauge, 25k with Artemis, and then it just allows you to kind of spread the crits by still applying pressure with your Vanguard. They'll want to guard that and your rear guards, because if they just take the Vanguard, then you just crit to the Vanguard and then your rear guards have it. So it kind of forces your opponent to guard every attack. So what I like to do is I like to have one of these on the field. Well, I like to have 3 columns, with your Vanguard obviously is the centre one. You swing with 1 column, and then that's not got the divine gauge maybe, and then you swing with your Vanguard, and then you swing with this that's got a divine gauge, and it'll be quite big. Early game, if your opponent's calling rear guards, you just want to use this to attack them. They'll either have to guard it to stop you gaining the gauge, or they'll just have to destroy it, and then when it hits, this gets the gauge, and then they start suffering later on if they don't start attacking into it before it gets really powerful and too hard for them to guard. So the next grade 2s are 4 Ulysses. When he attacks a Vanguard, put him into Soul, draw a card and soul charge 1. So he's just useful to fuel a bit of the soul for the gauge, and the draw is always nice. Having extra cards in hand is the way to go, especially in standard when you've got to be guarding. He replaces himself and just helps filter the deck for triggers, unless you're soul charging them, which is, in my experience, all the time. But yeah, 4 off, there's no better options considering what the other grade 2 were running, which is 4 of the Battle Maiden Shitsurahime. Now the other grade 2s that you could run is the Soul Blast Draw 2, the mini grade 2 version of this, grade 3, but I don't like that as much. It's nice draw and nice pressure, but this I find, if you do have to call this to a rear guard, Soul Blasting 1 for this is better than Soul Blasting 2 for only 1 lot of the shield value in power. Plus this gives 3k to something, which is always nice when you're pushing for numbers. So yeah, I prefer this over the other grade 2, and you don't really want to be running the vanilla with the shield, unless you've got no other option, or you start feeling that you need the shield value, then you replace these. Then onto the grade 1s, obviously we're going to be running 4, the Bowstring of Heaven and Earth Artemis. This is the grade 1 in the right chain. When it attacks or boosts, get a divine gauge on this unit, and then act, counterblast 1, discard one of this unit's divine gauge, and retire one of your opponent's units in the same column as this unit. It's a little bit slow to get started, but once you've got the divine gauge on there, it can be a threat to your opponent calling things in the same column as this. Which is quite useful in some matchups. For example, if you've got a unit in the front row that you don't want retiring, and you've got someone who plays Narukami, for example, they don't really want to be moving, getting rid of that, so they'll call it to another column. And then the interaction I was saying with the Vanguard is you boost the Vanguard with this, so you have some cards in Soul. So when you boost, this will get a divine gauge. Now, because you choose to give one, it becomes a 13k boost, which when your opponent, so you can swing, you can declare 21, and then you add this, it gains another 5k, so it's 26k column then. On your Vanguard, it's 15k shield off anyone for a 1 to pass. without force markers, which is just, yeah, it's really good, really good. In my opinion, it's always place one behind your Vanguard. That way, you can't be hit by a lot of other clans that retire, and you can always kill off the booster if you're playing against a protector or something, so they then have to start calling cards down behind the Vanguard, just so their Vanguard can hit you without the need for a trigger. Yeah, it's my favourite combo in the deck. There's not a lot of combos, but that's the one I enjoy. On to the next grade 1. Going 4 Achilles. Again, is the 3k, which is always useful. It just pushes a bit of extra guard, and giving it to multiple units is even better. And he puts himself into soul just so that you can then use him for the divine gauge if you really need. And then yeah, if you really need, you just call him as an 8k boost. He's still useful, or you keep him in hand if you don't think you can make the best potential from him. He's a 10k shield. At the end of the day, always going to be useful. You could run the Soul Blast Reducer, but he's my preferred option. Then onto the last grade 1, and the last card of the deck. So the deck is 3 Witcher Frogs Melissa. Again, if you're going to run these Soul Blasters, this is what I would take out. Depends how your groups are, how your meta is. If there's a lot of protect, this is the card I would run, because a lot of protect clans require a rearguard on the field to function, especially like OTT. You just call over them. It doesn't matter if they can't be retired, you're calling over them. And at the end of the day, if you can't Soul Blast through for this, it's 10k shield again. You're not losing anything, just keeping it in hand. So if possible, you don't want to be riding this. You really want to ride into this as your grade 1, or into the Artemis, just because there's slightly stronger bases. So that's my deck for the Artemis standard Cardfight Vanguard. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a comment if you have any feedback, it'd be appreciated. Thank you.